This is an Iclass tutorial on enrolling a gymnast into ongoing term classes. When we're booking an active enrolment for a gymnast, there are a couple of things that we need to check for the family and the gymnast. Firstly, we want to make sure that the gymnast has already done a trial. We always offer a free trial to families before we take an active enrolment. Even if a family isn't keen on doing that, we always offer that. That ensures that they have a very smooth transition into the club and that they receive all of the information along the way throughout their trial when they become actively involved, so they are aware of the club's policies and processes before they pay anything up front, because when they enroll, they are required to pay up front. So we always do the trials so that we avoid any issues further down the track. So if we're speaking to a family over the phone, or sometimes a family might submit an active request via the customer portal, we firstly need to check if the gymnast has done any classes before. So if we go to their enrolments and we check all of their enrolments, we'll be able to see if they've booked in for a trial class, if they've had any past classes before, and get a bit of a history on the trial. So here we can see that this gymnast has done a trial. We want to check if they've attended that trial. So if we go up to the tick in the file there, that enrolment's going to come up, and there we can see they did attend it. If they hadn't attended it, we'd book the class again for them as a trial, so that they again get that experience through their introduction to the club. But because this child has done the trial, we're all good to go for an active enrolment. We also need to make sure the family has agreed to the policies. Now, if a request comes through the customer portal, they will have agreed to all of the policies. A request cannot be submitted through the customer portal unless they've done that. For an active enrolment, they must also put their credit card details in. So their credit card details will be on file already. If we're doing the enrolment over the phone or face-to-face at the club, we'll need to check if the policies and the credit card is on file. So just here in the family, if we just go to policies, straight away we can see that this family has not agreed to the policies. If that's the case, we would not go any further with the enrolment. For an active class, we would let the family know that they would need to log in, agree to the policies, and suggest while they're in there that they request their class via the portal as well. The more we can get families on the customer portal, familiarising themselves with it, the easier their interactions with us will be. For the purpose of this tutorial, we'll pretend that the policies are done, but just so you're aware, I think we'll get an alert later on about that too. So we'll go through that. So you're aware, if they haven't been done, we direct the family back to the portal themselves. The other thing we're going to check is if we have a card on file. Here we can see there is no card on file. So before we go any further with the enrolment, we'll get their credit card details and put them on file, save them to the file, and do a test payment through there to make sure that the credit card is working. So they're the two things, but for the purpose of this tutorial, as I said, we'll just assume that all of that information is there and we can go ahead with it. So we can see that she's recently trialled in the Gymstar 2-3 class. They're happy with that class and they want to go ahead with it. So we'll go to new class enrolment. We'll select that class. If they wanted a different day and time, we could have a look at our website portal to see what is available, and we could help them to find a different day and time. But for this one, we'll say it's that class thereafter. Before, where we selected enrolment type as a trial, for an active enrolment where we're going to be taking tuition, it's going to be active there. The start date will be the earliest possible day. Now this is a Thursday class, so if they're coming the following Thursday, then the earliest possible day to start that enrolment would be today. However, if today was Wednesday or Thursday, the day we're processing it, and they weren't able to come to that class, we would make the start date the earliest possible, given that they're not coming to the class on that day. So it's tricky because we're doing if this was a Friday class that they were enrolling into, today's Friday the 9th of April, If they were enrolling into the Friday class, but they weren't coming to today's class, we would make that start date the 10th. But if they were coming to today's class, we would make it the 9th. If you've got any questions about that, please talk to me. The more you do these enrolments, the more you'll understand how to set the start date. And the drop date is always December 31. So our enrolments remain active throughout the year, so families do not need to re-enroll from year to year. So the drop date is always the 31st, and if they choose to cancel at any time, they can do that themselves online via the customer portal, and all families must cancel their enrolments themselves online. We do not do any enrolment cancellations. We're going to send them the email and the addendum, and we have the addendum in our 2020, yep, so in our memberships folder under class enrolment. And there we just need to find the right one for the class they're going into. So it's going to be a GymStar 1 to 3 class. So we just copy that and paste it in there. And one very important thing that I forgot to mention was before we do this and approve it, we need to take a payment to make sure their credit card is working. So the first thing we need to do is take the payment. When a family enrolls for the first time, there's a registration payment of $40 for preschool classes or $50 for school age classes. Now that amount sometimes changes, so will always be updated in the customer portal when that has changed. I'm just going to put a credit card in here so we can see how this is going to look when you do it. So I've just added some credit card details into the billing section in there. So they've been added, and then as I said, what we would do before we processed any part of the enrolment was to take a payment so that we know that the card works, and they haven't received any information about an enrolment confirmation without having made any payment. So the registration for this class is going to be $50. So we'll just simply type that in. You'll see the credit card that's saved on file there, and then that payment will just get processed. And then you'll see that payment in there, and we know that that card is working. So once we've done that, we're all good to go to save and charge for this enrolment. So if we save and charge, because they're enrolling actively, now here's the prompter. So it says family has not accepted or required family policies. We wouldn't override that. We can't have families enrolled if they haven't accepted all of the policies. So that's another good prompter to go back to the family and let them know. So we would say no thanks for that one. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to say yes so we can action through to the rest of it. Probably I should have just agreed to the policies, but it was good for the example to see that. So then we're going to charge an anniversary charge, which is the registration. So if we select anniversary, we get 2021 registration there. We'll select the gymnast and the charge category is going to be 2021 registration as well. That is the first payment we should ever take from a family for a new enrolment. And then because we've taken the payment first, we then just need to apply that payment to the charge. Now, other tutorials on how to read the ledger, so you'll have an opportunity to look over those as well. It's good to have examples in each of the tutorials that we do of different things. It helps to remind us about the processes. Now we've taken the registration, we also need to charge them a term tuition. So we just simply go class tuition, select that. Earlier for the one-off registration, we selected anniversary. Now we're doing the class tuition for the month, so we make sure we select class tuition. The charge category is going to be April Gym Skills Tuition. And that raises the amount there. And because we're partway through the month, we would create it and make the payment. That's going to take us back to this payment screen. We'll select that one, type in the amount. Oh, not the reference, the amount. It's so bad. There we go. We'll just apply that to the charge and then process that payment there. And we can just do a quick look over to make sure that everything looks right with the enrolment and the account looks right. Confirm everything with the family, and that's how we process an active enrolment ongoing for classes. If you have any questions about this process, just ask and we'll get them sorted out.